In Our Expert Opinion podcast is brought to you by Saunders Real Estate, a full-service land and commercial brokerage helping clients make bold and informed investment decisions since 1996.
Good afternoon and welcome back to another edition of In Our Expert Opinion podcast. My name is Tyler Davis, President of Saunders Real Estate. Today I'm joined by one of the rising stars at our firm, Zane Mueller. Zane, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
This is Zane's first ever time on the mic, on the podcast here, and so we're excited that he's here. Zane, for some background, I'll let him introduce himself, but joined us 2 years ago or so, maybe a little bit less than that.
2 Junes ago. So
2 Junes ago.
I think we're about, 18 months?
And he runs our research team. So we're going to get into that, why it's important, how it's helped fuel our firm, and will continue to fuel our firm in the various things that we're doing. But Zane, tell us a little bit about your background, where you're from, your history with land, and your history with real estate and data, and how all that has kind of parlayed itself into this role you're in now.
Yep. So I got an undergraduate degree from the University of Florida in food and resource economics. And so for those of you that don't know what that is, it's kind of a data analytics for agriculture. So I'm pretty well fit for this role with my undergraduate degree. Throughout college, I worked for a produce broker. So I traveled from Arcadia to Turkey, North Carolina, working on watermelon farms and with the growers, trying to make their crops better, schedule the harvest, all that good stuff. So that was every summer throughout college. I traveled. When I graduated, I was going to go into the watermelon brokerage industry, but kind of changed my lane a little bit. Went back and got a master's degree in real estate from the University of Florida.
Which is a big deal for people who don't know.
It's not that big.
The master's real estate program at Florida, that's
they
the
let
cream of
me
the
in.
crop.
They let me in because I was the only one who spoke about conservation in such a way, and that I wanted to do conservation easements. They'd never heard somebody say that, so they let the ag kid in with the finance kids. And yeah, about halfway through the program, I met you and Gary at ICSC in Orlando, of all places.
Which is really funny. We were at the ICSC International Shopping Center Conference in Orlando.
I was forced to go by my professors.
We went to the UF
Thank goodness I did.
UF networking banquet happy hour thing. And we were talking to one of the folks from UF and told them who we were with. And they said, hold on one second. You need to meet somebody at our firm, somebody in our program really wants to meet you guys and come work for y'all. And so I was like, whoa, this, and on the land side too, not the commercial side, which was funny. So
of all the places.
That's right. In the massive Orlando Convention Center.
Yep. So it worked out great for me. And so, yeah, I've, doing the research, a lot of it initially was getting my feet, what we do here and why it's important. Obviously the data is important, but until you start to use it, apply it, it's just kind of raw data. And so what we've done as a research team historically, it was a big pools of data and it was 1 or 2 people working on it. It's just kind of a lot to get through. And as we expanded into Georgia, it just became harder and harder. So luckily you guys recognize that and we've thrown the resources at it we need to. And we have a little research team now that kicks butt.
That's right. And so just some background on our firm and how we've used research. One of the things you've hit on is without using the data, without using the numbers, they're just numbers on a page. They're meaningless. And so one thing that Dean and our marketing team over the years has done a great job of is let's take that data and use it for marketing. Let's let marketing drive everything that we do, especially from a data research perspective. And so a lot of you have received our lay of the land market reports, come to our land conferences, things like that. And the data that goes into those reports is not just data that we get from a third party. It's not just, half-baked information that we pull from some data provider or software system. Those are sales that our research team, led by Zane and others, literally call and verify these sales with landowners. They get in touch with the people who either bought or sold or were involved in that transaction and make sure that the numbers are right, that it was an arm's length transaction. And the summation of all those individual sales is what results in the market reports. And so it's a very, very thorough process. And as Zane mentioned in the past, it's been 1, maybe 1.5, 2 people on that team. And, we've really seen that as a way that our firm grows, our market share. We become known as the company that has the data, and the company that goes to these links to make sure that the data is right. And so we've poured a lot of resources into it. Tell us a little bit about the team, the growth of the team, how you guys have created a good bond with what you're doing.
So I believe Luke was first technically, Mac or Luke. So right now the team is myself, Mac Bayless, Luke Dearlum, Hayden Welsh. And those are all guys in the Lakeland office upstairs. Well, Luke's downstairs. And then we have Ramon Balbin. He's actually a virtual worker from the Philippines, but he's really become a really important part of our research team because he provides that kind of back end support. So if there's stuff that we can put on his plate that's manageable, someone from the Philippines, he does a really, really good job. And then we kind of take what he does and then go way more in depth with it, obviously. But that's kind of our Florida team. And then Hayden, obviously, with the conservation side of things. And then Kennan and Dawson, our interns, hopefully going to be joining as kind of research advisors here shortly up in Arkansas. And then with plans to
seniors at the University of Arkansas,
seniors,
5 minutes from our office there.
Yep. And they're fantastic. They'll be great researchers and advisors in the Arkansas office as they grow into that. And then, we have the plans as we expand into other states to be adding people that make sense. Intern from UGA for Georgia. And so, as we grow into these new territories, it becomes a really good pipeline for young people or old. I mean, it doesn't matter the age. Anyone looking to gain experience in a certain market or the state's market, you can go from knowing nothing about real estate as a senior finance student at Arkansas to now you're very well in touch with what the market looks like across all the different commodity types. So it's a great pipeline to be, you get your research under you the first year or two. You're really just kind of learning how we do it, how it's applied, why it's important for you to know and learn. And then, the next year or so after that, you're taking it as an advisor, working on deals with, mentors or what have you, and taking this data and weaponizing it for your own business purposes.
Yeah. And the way we've tried to craft this position, this role, is that it's somewhat temporary in nature. I mean, we have to have somebody consistently overseeing it and running it. But we want it to be a stepping stone for younger people to get into this business, to kind of bridge the gap from when they graduate to college to when they are able to really make money in the brokerage side of the business or in other things that we're doing as a firm. And so we've had a good track record of that with Jeremiah Thompson in the past, other people in the commercial research realm who've gone from being researcher to highly productive brokers and advisors. And talk a little bit about, Zane, for you, just in coming into the business. You knew some things, but from a land value perspective, how valuable it is now for you. And I've told clients this, a deal that we're working on. I told him the other day, we brought Zane in to work on this with us. I told him, I said, look, the numbers that we gave you, those came from Zane, and Zane knows more about land values in the state of Florida than probably anybody else in the state, because that's all you guys look at, right?
I don't want to make that statement, but it's reasonable.
I mean, how many sales did you verify this year in Florida? Did our team verify?
We looked at over 1,300 to 1,400, and there ends up being a lot that aren't arm's length, so those aren't good transactions we want to use for data purposes, although they are sales technically. And that's, one cousin selling to another cousin at a discount because it's family. So we want to find buyers and sellers that are real market transactions. And so through that, I think we ended like 1,180. So we threw out a couple hundred. And our
1,180 in Florida alone.
In Florida alone, Georgia will end up probably around that. And then Arkansas, I think, will end up probably right in that range, which is interesting across the different states. There's a disproportion with Florida, our land values compared to, Georgia and Arkansas. But the amount of transactions are in a pretty tight range. Yeah, that's really interesting. And we're just now, as we analyze the trends, picking up on these things, right? So, yeah, kind of interesting.
So that knowledge that you're learning, how does that correlate to becoming an advisor, your confidence level in terms of going in, putting together a proposal, evaluation, your insight into that? Talk about how important it is to understand those numbers and how that is parlayed into your confidence, your knowledge and your future success in the brokerage realm.
Well, you automatically know what's changing hands. So a lot of times these people will know their neighbors, and this is speaking strictly to the land side of things, right?
Right.
Although commercial, it tracks as well. You're kind of learning what their marketplace looks like. So we're in Lakeland. I'm from Citrus County, but and I have listings all over the place. But the reality is, I know what's going on in all these different areas because we're looking at the state at a high level. And then county to county, we understand how to manipulate and digest the data and the sales in a way that, I can confidently go, well, here's all the sales.
Right.
These are facts, essentially. However you want to position your property, your goal, your timeline objectives, we kind of build that into the full. That's what we do as brokers, right? So, or advisors. So it's kind of that full skill set. And then as far as making the verified sales calls, so as part of our process, we try and match what appraisers do. And so we try and talk to the buyer, the seller, broker.
We verify sales to the same level that an appraiser would, in essence.
Yes, every sale we attempt to, and an appraiser would tell you this, there's a lot of people that you can't get a hold of or it's hard to track down. So we do our best, right? And we take it to the next level. Inevitably, we won't be able to get a hold of every single person, but we get a hold of a lot of them. And if not, the counties publish the data so we can go back and check the deeds and verify this ourselves. But our goal is to talk to a buyer or seller, a party to the transaction, so that we can say, hey, we can see on a map here, we can drive by. But what does the inside of that house look like on the 500 acres, right? How does that play into the value of the property? It could be an old house, so the value of the property is derived from the land value, or it could be a $2 million house on a $3 million property. Well, now the value's in the house more so than the land, and that separates it from a real land transaction from a residential one. So just me making that point, you can see how it builds your confidence in being able to talk about these kind of, every property is different and they're all complex.
Right.
So you can kind of approach it that way and understand what it looks like.
And those phone calls, those can turn into lead generators for you guys, but also for other members on our team. And I know that's happened a lot where the people that you guys are calling are the people that are buying and selling land in the state of Florida or Arkansas or Georgia or North Carolina, wherever we go. Talk a little bit about how much that has helped fuel some of the deals at our firm, some of the clients you have, relationships that you've built, our firm's built based on those verification calls.
Yeah. So we get a lot better response from people when we approach them with value. So we're not just asking, people who have held on to these properties generationally, do you want to sell your land, right? So we often get a negative reaction out of that unless there's somebody contacting us and they're willing, right? So when we call these people, we end up talking to them on a more personable level, and we're bringing them information about sales in the marketplace. We're keying them in on the opportunity to receive our market report, which is free information for an asset just like the one they have. So they're usually really receptive if we get to that point, right? Everybody answers the phone differently and receives a billion calls a day. But when we do make those connections, they tend to be a lot stronger because we're not just, hey, do you want to sell your land? Hey, would you like to, receive our market report? And we start talking to them about that and then we kind of loop in the sale, because there's a lot of these points we're trying to get that are a little people are protective about. They don't want to just disclose even though it's there in the county. A lot of people don't want their information out there, even though it's public. So we try and walk that line and be respectful, while still letting them know what's going on in the marketplace and the opportunity of receiving our market report, and how, they're kind of helping us in a way to publish it. And then we're going to turn around and give something back to them every single year. And that helps them make decisions, for their property, and gets us our foot in the door as a brokerage of the people that care about you and about what's going on, and less about just the numbers and the dollar signs and the commission and whatnot.
It's kind of like a warm phone call a little bit. I mean, there's
a warm
obviously
lead.
cold people who've answered the phone and not wanted to give any information, but it's kind of a warm lead because you're not trying to just close that deal on the phone. It's really more of a, hey, we're trying to help you. We're trying to give you information and long-term build a relationship, but not do that in a 30-second phone call.
Right. And there's that opportunity where I've had moments where I talk for 2 hours on the phone to one person, or we talk for 5 minutes and they give me what I need to know, and they've got a tractor to drive and they could care less about talking to me. And then other people are half interested in selling or leasing or buying or what have you. And so they want to kind of know what's going on. And us being the experts in that really helps. I can immediately answer their questions, and this can kind of possibly parlay into our next point of how it's important for advisors. But really, we're calling these people in the marketplace that are buyers and sellers. So there's the opportunity. Well, I'm a broker. Dean's point a lot is, can we get in on a 1031? They don't know what to do with their money now. So we open the door to that, and it's a lot more receptive when it's not, hey, I'm calling from Saunders Real Estate. Are you interested in selling your land? Right. Now you have a reason to call them, and it ends up being a lot more of a personal connection.
That's right. From a client perspective, landowner perspective, how does the data that we put together, our depth of knowledge of transactions, how does that help them when they do engage with us as a firm, right? How do we supply data to our advisors, and how do we ensure that we're getting the most out of this deal that we can for the seller, while also understanding the limits of what things are actually trading for?
So I just had a conversation with Dean about this. I mean, the data at the end of the day is facts, but you can spin it, right? Mm-hmm. And so what's important for us in using them for sales comparables specifically is the data is what it is. And so if you can take that and then take it the next step and be educated in how you speak about the data and use it wisely to present clients, that in itself is the expertise in the analysis of the large form data. And so for our advisors, I think there's two pieces to that. So for our advisors, it's important because it's real-time knowledge of the marketplace, whether it be the region you're working in or the asset type. Having up-to-date numbers is really important in speaking,
eloquently to your client.
Yeah. It's really important to be the expert if they're hiring you as an expert. And then for the clients, it's important for them because they get the best there is out there. And so we're taking it to the next step. These are appraisal level sales comps. They're about as good as you could get realistically. Mm-hmm. And so they might have expectations of a higher sale number or a lower one. And so we can come to them with facts, and we can adjust based on their goals and timeline and what have you.
It's always more fun when they expect a lower number, and then we come in with like the knight in shining armor saying, no.
Those are the good ones. Those are the good ones.
That's more rare to find, but when it does, it's very nice.
Those are the fun ones. And then it's the hard conversation where the facts say it's worth a lot less than what they think. And that's the human side of this, is working that in and being understanding in their goals and why they think it's worth that much. It might be a personal reason. It might just be because it's got great frontage and they think it's worth that. And it can be as simple as sometimes. So we, at the bare minimum, give you high-end facts. And whether you operate on that's up to you.
Sometimes, to your point, the data doesn't lie, but it doesn't always tell the truth. Sometimes there's different reasons why somebody might be able to get a premium for their piece of land. Maybe there's property next door that the land use was just changed, and theirs is the next domino to fall, so the price is going to be higher than traditional farmland. I mean, there's various reasons why properties will trade for different numbers than what the data says, but it's good to have that benchmark. It's good to have that knowledge going into a transaction, and the real-time part of it, where we have stuff that just traded and we know the values, stuff that other people don't have.
We're collecting it as soon as the county will update their systems. And so we're trying to make a relationship, and we have with a lot of counties, to get their data and access their sales servers. A lot of these counties have it on a server live, but it won't be published to the county site for sometimes weeks, month after. Yeah. And so our goal is to get it as dialed in as possible. And then in
those markets where the counties are really slow, there's some, I'm not going to name any names, where it's 6, 7, 8 month, 10 month, 12 month delays. And so we're trying to find third-party data sources to backfill those counties that are slow so that we don't have any gaps in our data. And this probably segues into one of the things that, I want to get you to kind of highlight that we're doing as a firm is we are developing our own mapping system. It's proprietary. It's going to be only available to our advisors and our team members. And we've pumped a ton of resources into it and spent a lot of time and energy on it. And there's a lot of great mapping systems out there, a lot of them that we use on a daily basis. But they're limited in terms of our ability to get their data and to use it to the level that we need to justify or to produce these market reports. And so, talk a little bit about high level, your excitement for this new mapping system, how that's going to really, help us put our foot on the gas from a data standpoint and to produce these materials that again, nobody else is doing.
So when I first saw the mapping system we've been using for years, I was really excited because in my master's program, it would have been really nice to have. I should have asked you guys for access to it throughout that, and I would have gotten A's when I got B's probably. But we're essentially taking the utility of our old mapping system and bringing it into the 21st century. And so we're integrating a lot of things that we wish we had in the current mapping, and we've received a ton of feedback and had a lot of conversations of what we can do better. So if there's something you think it could do better, we're probably already doing it. That being said, there's always room for improvement, but we've done a good job so far of trying to do the things we've always thought would be cool.
Yep.
And now we've got them.
And we can quickly improve upon them or expand this into new territories because it's our mapping system that we own, and we're the ones controlling the pace and the tools and pieces of it.
And so the goal, and another conversation I recently had with Dean, the goal will be to, produce high level sales comparable reports so we can show the comps at a high level. Here's in list view. If you need to know these key metrics like price per acre for a big timber property, for example, we can list all those. Here's them all printed out on a report. It shows each comp. It shows the subject. It shows a regional view and a location map so that you have not only a physical view of what's going on here, but you can also see
the bigger metrics.
Yeah, so you can see the larger metrics all in one place. And our mapping system currently does that, but it's time to improve.
And I think we're going to, over time, get to the point where we have suggested comps, right? You click on a property and say, hey, I want to look at these parcels. I need to pull comps. And then it suggests comps based on proximity, land use, zoning, size, date of transaction. And so we're trying to really create a system that helps our advisors be more efficient, have more data, make more money, bring more value to their clients.
Yeah, the less time they spend looking for comps, and that's something we're already doing for them. And so we can put comps in front of them that make sense. And so it allows them to go prospect and try and make more money with the resources we provide.
Do what they're good at, which is selling, building relationships, and not being bogged down with the administrative burdens of pulling comps. So one last thing I kind of want to hit on is we've always done annual market reports, and we've done it once a year for the prior year. It's very thorough, very in-depth. It's helped us get a ton of credibility in Florida and Georgia and other markets that we're going into. How are we going to show this data real time to people in a more timely manner? I'll let you kind of spill the beans on one of the things we're going to be doing this next year.
So the quarterly market reports will be a way to compare, like you said, we've done the yearly. So this is a way to compare quarter to quarter. I'll tell you right now, quarter two tends to be the highest producing quarter, but that's only because we've been tracking to have these key metrics. And so, that's information we can weaponize and turn around and give back to our agents, and they can take that to their clients, or landowners can come to us for this information as well. Of real time, what that year looks like. COVID was a crazy year, so it would have been useful to know the huge increase from 2018 to 2019 into 2020 month to month or quarter to quarter, because it was such a dramatic increase. So having real-time data throughout the year is useful to know that, you're on the phone with a institutional timber owner that owns tens of thousands of timber acres. It would be useful to know what the average price per acre they've been trading at this year so far. They keep track of the amount of acres, but having the price and all of these additional data points, physical characterizations. When we talk to the buyer and seller, we end up speaking about what's the fence quality, right? Because it's all valuable. So, and then that really lets you dial in what your property is actually worth, throughout the span of the year, not just at a high level year to year.
And I think being able to look at trends, not just on an annual basis, but trends by region of a state, trends by county, by land type, from quarter to quarter to quarter. Again, gives you more real-time data to see, hey, what's the impact of greening on citrus prices in Florida? What's the impact of COVID on land values in the next 2 quarters, right? Ending 2020, going into 2021, when money was free and deals were falling off the shelves. So the more we do these quarterly reports, which we're going to start doing those this year, they're not going to be quite as thorough or in-depth as our annual report. That's still going to be the gold standard of what we do, but we are going to start providing quarterly data to landowners, to property owners in the markets that we're in, so that, again, we're bringing value that's real time to them, values and information that nobody else has. And so we want that to be what drives us, what gets our foot in the door with a lot of landowners and helps us grow into some of these other markets, and even grow within Florida markets where we don't have a ton of coverage. So you've done a great job, Zane, of pushing us from a research standpoint into this kind of next frontier a little bit, tying it all together, helping us bring more people on board. I'm proud of you. I'm excited to see where this goes from a research standpoint, from a brokerage standpoint. I appreciate you being on today, and we're excited about what we're doing moving forward.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for listening to In Our Expert Opinion Real Estate Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you never miss any of our upcoming episodes. For more on land and commercial real estate, please connect with us at saundersrealestate.com.